Hey everyone, Kylie here and welcome to my plan with me for May 2024. So I had mentioned in my last video that I might do something about Lily, and that was never going to happen because there is no way that my brain or my heart was going to cope with doing that for this month. So I decided I'd keep the theme that I had already created or outlined earlier this year, which for May is succulents and cacti with a sub-theme of books. So the title page, when I started sort of thinking about how I do things, I did think about doing a pop-up this month to basically make up for the abject failure of the pop-up in April, but I decided that I'd just leave it, mainly because January's pop-up is like pot plants and flowers, and I just thought it would be very similar. So no point stressing myself out by doing a pop-up if my brain is going to work even partly as it had a month ago. So yeah, I just thought we'd just do a layout like this, just a nice, simple double-page layout, some shelves with things on them, largely succulents, cacti, and some books and a little turtle, which there was a gap and I just decided I'd put a turtle in it. I don't know why. My brain's a bit random at the best of times, and this isn't the best of times, so there you go. So yeah, a nice, simple layout. And if you noticed in the planning journal that I just showed you earlier, it's not that full this month, and there are two reasons for that. The main one is that I've drawn cacti and succulents a number of times in different things like bullet journal layouts. One of the pages in my calendar is these things. It's one of the things that I just doodle when I'm just sitting, killing time and that sort of stuff. So this is a quick go-to for me because they are really very simple to do. And this is one thing that I would encourage. If you do your own bullet journaling and you haven't done succulents and cacti as a theme, highly recommend it. If you just generally doodle or you like to draw things, definitely go down this path. You'll find them very easy to do. You just have to find, some of the different sort of structures and mainly leaf structures. And once you get used to doing them, they're really, sky's the limit. It's quite easy once you get used to it. And as you can see, most of them are extremely simple little structures. So by all means, feel free to use mine as examples to draw off or go to Pinterest. My default is always, if you want to see examples on how to draw anything or get examples or get some inspiration, Pinterest is a great place to do that. So yeah, I use it a bit when I'm trying to conceptualize bits and pieces. So yeah, succulents and cacti it is. Now, you'll notice there was a bit of a time jump there, and that's because, quite obviously, something happened with the camera. Now, this wasn't a case of me forgetting to press record, which has happened in the past, I will admit. This is basically, I use an old iPhone now to do the recordings of these, and I honestly just hadn't emptied it. So it ran out of storage space. And because of the device that I have to hold it so that it can, film the table, I can't see that while I'm doing the work. It sits above my head. So, yeah, I do occasionally check when I'm doing bits and pieces because I have been known to forget to turn the camera on. And when I looked, it had a warning up telling me that I'd run out of storage space. And so it hadn't filmed for a little bit. But look, painting's painting. You've seen me do a whole heap of stuff on this page. The other stuff was no different, really. So, yeah, you'll just have to put up with a little bit of the leap. That's how it goes. What I didn't say about I did say that there were two reasons that the planning journal isn't that full. The second reason is, and the reason that I'm really glad that this was actually the theme for this month, is that grief is not great for the creative process. And I'll talk about that in a minute. First of all, the Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows, ludiosis is the word for this month, which is the sense that you're just making it up as you go along. So the rest of the definition of that is, if someone were to ask you why you chose to do something, you actually wouldn't be able to tell them. And I increasingly feel like this as an adult. I really think, we make so many decisions based on our gut and, yeah, that sounds about right. Let's just do that. And, path of least resistance and all sorts of things come into play. But, yeah, I just decided that sort of, spoke to me a little bit this month. So that's what we did. Now, of course, I'll briefly talk about Lily. I won't talk about it very much. But for those of you who weren't here last month, 4 weeks ago today, we unfortunately had to say goodbye to our very dear, lovely old puppy dog, Lily. She was with us for about 13 years, and unfortunately, she just become too unwell and in too much pain. And so we got to do what fortunately we can do for our animals, and that was let her go. And we've been grieving quite a lot this month. There's been lots and lots of tears, and yeah, I don't think they'll be gone anytime soon. We're sort of at the point of we're quite used to her not being here. So, but we haven't yet really discovered what our life together looks like after her not being here. Which is interesting for us because we got her probably so it'd be 9 months after we moved to Tasmania. We got Lily, and so for most of our lives down here, because we've been here for nearly 14 years now, for most of our lives down here, she was here. And yeah, so it's been a lot for us to get used to. And particularly for me because I largely work from home, so I was just with her all the time. And yeah, it's been a lot to get used to her not being here. But I would like to take the opportunity to thank the people who reached out to offer condolences, but also the wonderful friends of ours down here who have just been here and been wonderful about sort of helping us through the last month, because it has been a lot. So April was a bit of a non-month and not a very creative month as well. So I'm hoping that I can start getting back into some of these things. I'm starting to, sort of feel a bit more like sitting down and creating. So that's a bonus. And particularly because I don't have a lot of client work at the moment scheduled into May. Yes, that seems to be a bit thematic for this calendar year, and it is freaking me out, but I'm just going to pretend it's not happening and we'll just move past that. All right. So I'm hoping to take the time to progress some of the making that I've still been working on, but not as productively as I would have hoped to have. So I have the collection of the sketch notes for my year of TED. I had a couple of days about a month and a half ago where I got really keen and, got a heap of stuff done and really felt like I'd sort of, broken the back of how I'm going to structure it and how it's going to work. And it's just ceased to exist in my brain. So I really have to get back onto that because I really just need that done and out in the world. And then the other thing is that I've been working quite a lot on is my oracle cards. So I have all the words, all the definitions. I know what the visual elements are that I'm including in all of it. And I believe I have a layout. So we might have progressed a fair way. I say I believe I have a layout because I have something I'm really happy with, but it's only fairly new and I haven't sort of sat with it long enough to go, yes, this is definitely what I want. So I think I still need to play with it a little bit, but it's very close. I have also chosen who I'm going to get them printed through. and I have sample of cards, and I believe I've chosen the coating and all of those sorts of things. So yeah, that's progressing, and hopefully, it won't be too many more months before I feel like they're ready for me to. I don't know whether I've mentioned on here that I'm thinking about doing a Kickstarter or a possible campaign for them. I'm not quite sure. So yeah, hopefully it won't be too long before I start progressing whatever that idea is going to be and how that's going to work. But anyway, for now, we're in my bullet journal. And you'll see, usually in my bullet journal, so the last few pages that you've seen, I draw really very simply. I don't put a lot of texturing and shading and those sorts of things into it, partly because of the time it takes to do that, partly because that's not the style of drawing that I generally do, full stop, but definitely not the sort of style that I do in my bullet journal. But the other reason is that I can't put a lot of watercolor down on the Archer and Olive paper. I love the journals, but the paper is cartridge paper. It's not watercolor paper. It's not designed to take a lot of water. And for what I do on this page, it's actually warped the page quite considerably. So it is something, to be aware of. It's the reason that for March, when I was doing that painting, I actually did it on proper watercolor paper and stuck it in because, there are limitations to what this paper allows me to do. And watercolor blending and putting a lot of color down is one of the things that causes an issue. But this is the final page of the month, so the final theme page or week page of the month. And the other side of this is the reflection page, which I generally do my reflection at I always do it at one time. I don't know why I say generally. I always do it in one sitting. I sit down and do the reflection. So it's not like I'm going to have to deal with that page a lot. And there's not a lot of writing. So the back of that, there's not going to be a lot of writing and everything to go along with it. So I just decided to do something a little bit different and add a great big pop of colour into succulents and cacti for May. So this is what you see here. But yeah, I'm quite happy with the theme. And of course, because I'm doing the pairs of themes, then next month will be books, but I'll still have succulent cacti as my sub-theme. Reflection page, and because I had a spare page, I decided to do my badge ideas on a page because I just have them in all random locations, and I think I'd like to collect them a little bit more. So here is my bullet journal for May. Thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate you watching. Please like, subscribe, that sort of stuff. But please come back in June and I will hopefully see you then. Bye.